Good morning. History 132. Hope all is well with you. We're hanging in there. That's all we can do. But I would like to talk to you today, probably chapter 17 in your book, The Islamic World Power. But let me update you on some things that had occurred before we got there. The Europe had gone through the Renaissance and Reformation. And of course, the Renaissance started in Italy, and the Italians looked back at the teachings and the writings of the Romans and the Italian and renewed learning again. The Renaissance simply means a rebirth. Some of the stars or key leaders would be considered artists: Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, you can name it. This is the Renaissance. We also see the establishment of the university system and the introduction of liberal arts into the curriculum, which history is one. But then you have the Protestant Reformation, led by Martin Luther, who rebelled against the Catholic Church by posting his 95 Theses on the Council of Wittenberg. He was outlawed. A civil war developed in Germany between the followers of Lutheran and the followers of the Catholic Church. This war went on for over 50 years. It finally ended at the Treaty of Augsburg, which put an end to the Protestant Reformation. Further south in Switzerland was a man named John Calvin, who believed in predestination, that when a person is born or being carried in their mother's womb, God had already preordained his life, whether that person will go to hell or go to heaven, whether they be a history professor or a history student or a businessman or a politician. Preordination, preordained. Calvinism. On the English Isle, Henry VIII pulled away from the Catholic Church, but this is over an issue of love and marriage. The Pope, as you know, the Catholic Church does not support divorces, but they do annul marriages. Henry VIII, after his wife could not produce a male heir, he wanted to divorce her, marry another lady, which he did, but he broke away and started the Anglican or the Episcopalian Church. So you have all of that going on. Also, I need to point out to you, something happened with the climate in Europe. For 3 years, the temperature was low, there was no rain, led to food shortages and starvation. But followed by this was the advent of the Black Death, bubonic plague. Ship lands in Milan, Italy, from the Crimea, that's Russia, with a ship of grain. 2 weeks later, people start getting sick. Their flesh start rotting off their bodies. Started with a pus on the armpits or in the groin or around your neck with a lymph node system. A bacterial infection. It was bad, killed millions of people, desecrated the European economy, the Black Death. Today, that disease has almost been wiped out because of the invention of antibiotics. It's a bacterial infection. What we later learned was when that ship landed in Italy, it had black rats. And on the rats were fleas. And of course, the rats had the plague. The fleas bit the rat and then bit humans, who transmitted the disease from the rats to the human. Sound familiar, right? Most of our virus and bacterial infection is transmitted from animals to human, not from human, and then from humans to human. That's how it entered into our system. But eventually, after thousands of years, and of course scientific changes, people learned to treat and deal with the bubonic plague. Penicillin wasn't invented until 1940, right before World War II ended, and it became a lifeblood. Now this ties into the syphilis study, Tuskegee, where the government failed to provide treatments of syphilis. In Alabama and all over the South, syphilis was a pandemic among the black community. But now man had a cure, but these are used as a trial. The syphilis study went astray at Tuskegee, and now many people are leery about taking vaccine because of this. Now you got to remember, the government did not give syphilis to these people. They had it already. The only damage was they refused. They did not treat them. They cured other people, but they wanted to monitor them and see the effect of syphilis on the human body. Inhumane. And also contributed to the distrust of government. Okay, I didn't mean to go there. So, with all of these changes, the Portuguese would lead the European in the acceleration of global contact. First, they would sail down the Atlantic Ocean and sail around the Cape of Good Hope into the Indian Sea, made contact with the Indians, the Southeast Asians, and brought back to Europe all kinds of spices, other food crops, and silk and other things from the Chinese, but began a lucrative trade. The Portuguese had a head start on the Iberian Peninsula. Their neighbors, the Spaniards, who had just been united with by Isabel and Ferdinand, they drove the Muslims off the Iberian Peninsula. These are the Blackamoors, or the Moorish population. These are black people. They're Islamic, but around I don't know the date, between 1350 and 1400, Isabel and Ferdinand issued inquests. Basically, they gave people there to a chance to convert or die, convert to Christianity or convert to Catholicism. And of course, if you were Muslim, that was the wrong thing. Many left, many were killed. If you were Jews, you had no choice but to leave or to convert to Christianity, conversos. That's what they called the Jews at that time. So, Spain now is a devout Catholic nation. And lo and behold, a young Italian named Christopher Columbus pays a visit to the Council of Isabel and Ferdinand, and he told them that he could reach the East Indies by sailing west. And of course, everyone thought that the earth was flat at that particular time. That would come later, before Galileo and Copernicus would look out into the skies and see that the earth is round, and we live in a solar system. At first, according to the Romans and the Greeks, the earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around it, where the heliocentric theory that was developed later proved that the earth was one of 9 bodies that revolved around a star, our sun. So, this trade, though, is key. So Columbus lands in San Salvador, Hispaniola, and he thought he was in the East Indies. He saw the people with long, black, brown hair, brown eyes, copper-toned skin. He thought he was in the East Indies, so he gave them the name Indians. So thus began the Spanish move into the New World. But the Portuguese, again, a key. They had been in Africa longer than any of the Europeans, and they had developed the growing of sugarcane. And now they moved this product to Brazil and the Indies. So sugar became a much heralded product, but they needed labor to provide, and this is what led to the transatlantic slave trade, how our ancestors came to the America based upon for sugar. Now, of course, that would all change later with the invention of the cotton gin. Cotton would become the staple crop. but in the beginning it was sugar. So this is the Europeans. Let's see, what do I want to tell you about them? Columbus landed San Salvador. The Atlantic slave trade began. Magellan crew circumnavigated the globe. Took 5 years. He sailed from Spain, crossed the Atlantic into the Gulf of Mexico, came to the Isthmus of Panama, disassembled his boat, drug him over the mountains, reassembled it on the Pacific side, continued sailing west. He made it to the Philippines where he was killed, but his crew escaped, came back down the southern route and made it back to Spain. So who circumnavigated the globe? Who sailed around the world first? Ferdinand Magellan. So Cortez would defeat the Aztec Empire in Mexico, and Pizarro would defeat the Incas. These are long, older civilization, well established. You probably have already read or seen pictures of the Aztecs and the Incas. So the Spanish and the Portuguese have a head start on the rest of the European powers. Now the French and the English and the Dutch will catch up later. That's for another discussion. But on chapter 17, we see the Islamic world powers developing, particularly the Ottomans, the Safavids, and the Mughals. They were religious development based upon the teaching of Islam and the teaching of Muhammad. But they established a new world trade and the spread of their religion. So the Ottoman began this with the conquest of Constantinople, Byzantium, remember from your history class, Asia Minor. Then the Safavids, these are Persians, conquered the Iran today, and then another group of Mongols, remember Genghis Khan, a descendant from the great Khan, called the Mughals, or Mongols. They moved into the subcontinent of India and established power there. The Mughal Empire in India was great. A good example of their greatness would be the picture of the Taj Mahal. Google that and get a picture of how great it was built by Shah Jahan to commemorate his love for his wife. But the construction of also by Akbar, which gave the Muslims their power. Now, if you know anything about India, on the subcontinent, the majority of people there are Hindus, but to the north, in Pakistan and Bangladesh, they are Muslim. These are descendants from the Mughal Empire, which would last all the way up until the 19th century. Now the Ottoman Empire would last all the way up until the 20th century, when they would be defeated in World War I. Ottoman stands out, Suleiman, who gave them the nation-state concept. And today, the Ottoman Empire would be Turkey today, which is still an Islamic state. But the Mughals and the Ottomans, coming from the east, conquered this area and converted to Islam. Let's see, is there anything else I want to tell you about this? This is a slow go. I don't normally teach this but one class a year, so I have to do a lot of catching up. So please bear with me as we go slow and into this time period. So I will load. I hope you had a chance to look at the PowerPoint slides and the notes. I will upload this lecture today and hopefully more PowerPoint slides and a study guide, something to help you prepare and keep up in this class. Be blessed and stay safe. Caver out.